Men and women interact and work together in the society. Each have different roles and functions that they perform. Others assume and base these roles according to gender as being a male and female. However, others also believe that everyone should be treated and viewed equally. Now, this is why it is important to know the different gender perspectives. Now, what is gender perspective? Gender perspective, this is viewing others according to gender at any social phenomenon, policy, or process. The gender perspective focuses particularly on gender based differences in status and power and considers how such discrimination shapes the immediate needs as well as the long term interests of women and men. In a policy context, taking a gender perspective is a strategy for making women's as well as men's concerns and experiences as an integral dimension of the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies and programs in all political, economic, and societal spheres, so that women and men benefit equally and inequality is not perpetuated. Now we have three different gender perspectives, and these are functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism.
Gender perspective in training. Functionalism. This uses macro level of orientation that sees society as a complex and interconnected system with each other, having different function. This means that the whole structure of society is interconnected. People and institutions have function that help maintain equilibrium. If there are any forms of rapid changes, then this may cause disruption in its functioning. So in the context of gender perspective, this theory suggests that gender inequalities exist as an efficient way to create divisions of labor, kung saan nagkakaiba tayo ng responsibilidad. This view gender role as complementary. So, ang babae ay inaasahan to care for domestic responsibility at ang lalaki naman ay may responsibilidad outside of home. Kaya before, nalilimitahan ang mga babae. And with that, many argues that this gender roles is discriminatory. That is why, when changes occurred during World War II, marami na rin ang changes sa family structure. Marami na rin sa kababaihan ang nagtatrabaho para maka-adapt sa changes ng society. Large number of women began to enter the workforce and fighting for their rights for equal pay for equal work. Kaya naman nagkakaroon ng formal norms or law, which is the important elements of functionalist is the norm, customs, traditions, and institutions. Functionalists believe that when role is clearly established, social solidarity increases. In relation to training, before ay marami sa mga babae na dapat ay nasa bahay lang ang trabaho. More on, ang training before sa mga babae is household works like sa pagluluto. Pero ngayon, marami na sa mga kababaihan ang nagtitrain sa welding at iba pang mga trabaho.
The gender perspective examines the impact of gender on people's opportunities, social roles, and interactions, as well as how gender influences the social development process. Gender is an essential component of every aspect of individuals' and societies' economic, social, daily, and private lives, as well as the various roles assigned to men and women by society. Conflict is an unavoidable part of everyday life, including the workplace and environment you belong. Understanding conflict as a theory can help us understand why conflicts occur and how to resolve them when they do. Conflict theory is the idea that all of society is constantly in conflict due to a lack of resources. Essentially, conflict theory in the training setting is all about how power influences decision making, goal setting, and relationships, especially when there is conflict regarding the gender of who holds it. While Marx envisioned conflict theory as a way to explain people's actions in society as a whole, the ideas can be applied in the training setting. Those in traditional positions of power, like facilitators, leaders, supervisors, and presenters, often have the most power and access to resources regardless of gender. They have control over assets such as flow and time off, which can encourage their employees to work productively depending on how the leaders distribute resources. Interpersonal conflict occurs when two people with very different personalities struggle to communicate and work effectively together. Interpersonal conflict can occur at any organizational level and between any gender, regardless of whether there is a traditional power or resource imbalance. Conflict is usually the result of a disagreement over how to use shared power or resources. According to conflict theory, society is a struggle for dominance between social groups, such as men and women, competing for scarce resources. Conflict theory holds that social problems arise when dominant groups abuse or oppress subordinate groups.
Symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism is a gender perspective that aims to understand human behavior by analyzing the critical role of symbols in human interaction as attested by Bloomer. Highlighting gender perspective on training, it emphasizes on the gender roles that society has put meaning into through interactions such as the concept of masculinity and femininity. Because the meanings attached to symbols are socially created and not natural, fluid, not static, we act and react to symbols based on the current assigned meaning. When people perform tasks or possess characteristics based on the gender role assigned to them, they are said to be doing gender. In training, it is necessary to consider symbolic definitions of gender in the society and how it affects social interaction, how men and women are differently conceived while displaying similar certain behaviors. This type of meaning making that is imbued with gender role norm socialization contributes to some gender issues at the microsociological level.